Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Davo from Esports, bringing you a 1v1 Starcraft 2 cast today. Excellent! Yes, cool. So, in the top right-hand corner, we have Danmarkdan, who actually put this on Reddit, on the subreddit Cast It, and that is why I have the game, and I have the pleasure of watching it as a replay, and commentating on it, and doing all sorts of really cool, fun stuff with it, but mainly just watching and commentating on it. So, thank you, Danmarkdan, for that. Hope that you like this cast. And then in the bottom left hand corner today we do have Ruslan, and I think that's how you say your name, Ruslan, or maybe it's Ruslan, I don't know, but it's going to be Ruslan for the remainder of the game, because that's the way that I feel most comfortable saying it, so sorry if I got that wrong as well. So it does look like Ruslan will be asking where Danmarkdan is from, and it should be fairly obvious with the name, obviously it being Denmark, and Denmark is only one letter away from Denmark. But there we are, and Ruslan is from France. Now Ruslan is actually blocking in the top of his ramp, which quite a lot of people do love to do against Zerg. In fact, it's basically an unwritten rule for Terran to do this, simply because it stops Zerglings from running up the ramp and doing all sorts of crazy mischief in the area which is known as the mineral line. So that's a very good idea from Ruslan right now. I mean, Ruslan hasn't actually scouted yet. It'll be interesting to see if he does scout. Usually you'd probably want to scout by now, just to kind of make it solid that he hasn't got his spawning pool at 1 minute or something crazy like that, because obviously that could mean the end of the world. So Ruslan could have really scouted there, and I mean if he didn't see a spawning pool he would have had options, but again it is very, very customary to build all of that stuff on top of the ramp, so that's absolutely fine for now. Absolutely. So Danmarkdan is going for a very, very safe build. I believe this is 14 pool, 14 extractor, which is a very economically safe and viable and nice build. You know, it's pretty hard to get killed easily with that build. Let's just put it like that. It is a nice build to do. Okay, awesome. So here is the scout from Ruslan right now. I mean, if Danmarkdan had been 6 pooling, unfortunately he would have just ran into a big wall of supply depots and barracks. It does actually look like this Overlord is going to get taken down pretty quickly, because I'm not actually sure that the Overlord has the power to micro away from this Terran Marine, unfortunately, and it does look like the Marine has been able to poke enough holes in the Overlord just to absolutely smush it and kill it. Unfortunately for Ruslan right now, that has just happened. So Danmarkdan taking an expansion. The Overlord death does not really bother him that much. I mean, he has become supply blocked from it, but I mean, Overlords are probably the easiest kind of a supply depot to kill in the game, so Zerg players are very, very used to it indeed. So it's not really a big shakes. It's not much of a hassle. Let's put it like that. It does look like Danmarkdan is going to be scouting the natural of his opponent right now, and seeing that the opponent has not, Ruslan that is, by the way, has not actually expanded yet. In fact, Ruslan is going really, really safe here, and will be having his troops go inside a bunker, which is fairly safe. I mean, if Danmarkdan got any real amount of banelings right now, he could probably just roll straight into his opponent's base pretty quickly. I mean, once the bunker goes down, the 4 Marines that are inside are going to be dead instantly as soon as the bunker goes down, if it is a baneling kind of scenario. Really, bunkers are very good in this situation because they give added protection from roaches, because of course roaches are armoured, and Marines, their damage against roaches isn't fantastic, and I mean, Marines being light biological units need everything they can for you know, to protect against roaches, and of course sitting inside a big metal disc which is a bunker is a very, very good idea indeed. And it does look like Ruslan will be going for an expansion very, very soon, i.e. now. Oh, or maybe not, maybe he didn't mean to cancel that. No, I don't think he did. There we go. And you can tell that because obviously he's moved his troops onto the low ground. Good stuff. We have Baneling Nest on the way for Ruslan right now, which is a pretty good choice. I mean, quite a lot of Terrans do like to go mech against Zerg players. That is just something that happens, mainly because of banelings, because quite a lot of Terran players are not really proficient enough in splitting their Marines up, or at least not at a really amateur level. And of course, this isn't a really amateur level. It's not bronze. This is silver, which is a fairly amateur level. But that's fine. You know, that is absolutely fine. But as I say, quite a lot of Terrans aren't that great at splitting up their Marines just yet. So really, usually people prefer to go mech. You just get mech units all the way through the game. But no, it does actually look like Ruslan will be going for a bio-orientated build. Of course, Marauders are actually very, very good against banelings. We will be seeing banelings coming from Ruslan, of course, because he has actually finished his baneling nest right now. Started work on the evolution chamber, so maybe we'll see some upgrades for the Zerglings as well, which will make them more and more deadly as time goes on. A scan going down there by Ruslan will actually maybe see the nest. Yeah, so it has seen the baneling nest, and it has actually seen Danmarkdan actually start his transition into a layer tech right there. Danmarkdan, I mean, if he was really holding his cards close to his chest, maybe could have started the layer tech research after the scan had gone. Because, I mean, it does give Ruslan an idea of what is going to happen next. I don't know. Really, I mean, Danmarkdan is playing very, very safe as indeed. And I mean, look at the supply discrepancy. I know that Danmarkdan is Zerg, and obviously Zerg's macro very, very quickly when left alone for any long amount of time. But 44 out of 94 from Ruslan, and then 60 out of 84 from Danmarkdan. So it does actually look at the moment like Danmarkdan has, just quite frankly, a larger army. That layer tech finishing right now, and it will be pretty interesting to see what actually comes out building wise from that layer right now. We might see Mutalisks, we might see Hydralisks. We will just have to wait to see what happens. Now we do have Ruslan getting his siege tank and siege tank upgrade right now as well, which is very, very useful in pretty much this situation, I would say, for a Terran player to have. I mean, you've scanned his base, you've seen that he's got banelings, and your composition is mostly Marines. You're going to want to get something that blows up banelings very, very quickly indeed, and that particular thing is siege tanks. Because I believe a direct hit from a siege tank kills a baneling instantly, and pretty much almost kills the surrounding banelings very, very quickly indeed. 1+ weapons finishing right now for Danmarkdan as well, so that does look like it'll be finishing. And an infestation pit coming out as well, so we could actually see, I suppose, really one of two things. Because Danmarkdan has been left alone for so long, he could actually go and probably go straight for his hive tech. It's either that, or he is going to be going and getting some infestors out. And the infestors really do give way to some really interesting play, and it does look like he will be going with the infestor option, because we see the pathogen glands on the way, which of course increases the starting amount of energy that infestors actually have. Awesome. And of course the centrifugal hooks, which by the way is my favourite name of upgrades in this game, simply because it's got the word centrifugal in it. Centrifugal. Yeah, that's a cool word. Centrifugal. Yeah, it is a fun word to say. Very nice indeed. Awesome. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but this map is core hole compound, but very, very quickly it is becoming creep compound, because Danmarkdan's creep spread is increasingly impressive. And of course creep spread is a very, very good thing. Simply bam, because you can see what exactly is going on the minimap. And in essence, creep spread gives you a lot of map control, really, because you can just see what is going on. That is that. I mean, if the creep spread comes out here, all the way out here, Danmarkdan will know if Ruslan is going for an attack on this base, unless he's got medvacs on the way. But I mean, that's another great thing about creep. It speeds up all your units. You have so much time to respond to anything like that. Danmarkdan is very, very far ahead in supply at the moment. Ruslan has been playing very carefully indeed, and one might even say maybe a little bit too carefully, but that might be the end of this right now, seeing as we're just literally looking at it. It looks like Ruslan might be just preparing to move on out and go and attack his opponent. So let's follow the army of Ruslan across the map on its epic voyage. He doesn't actually have weapons upgrades at the moment for any of his units, but the weapon upgrade +1 is just on the way, and by the time he gets there it will be finished. So that's a fairly decent timing attack coming along from Ruslan right now, getting in there just as the weapons +1 just finishes, but weapons +2 is just finishing right now for Danmarkdan. So, oh, and that is a lot of banelings. Hello, with the centrifugal hooks as well, with that many zerglings, and with the fungal growth. That is going to be deadly, and I can't see this Terran force doing much against that. And Ruslan does actually look like he's going to be losing his will a little bit and moving back. I'm not actually sure I don't know if Ruslan saw how many banelings Danmarkdan actually had there. But wow, that was a lot of banelings. That is a lot of beelings. Banelings. By the way, Bling's really nice. I actually met him at I-45 when we did the interview of him. He's solid. Yeah, good guy. Good guy. An awesome Protoss player as well. Yeah, I believe Day 9's Newbie Tuesday this week had Bling versus Grubby for some of the example games. It was really cool. Good times. Okay, so basically this composition is really dangerous for any well-wishing Terran, because you have the fungal growth, which causes damage, and more importantly keeps everything in a certain radius stationary. And of course the thing that really likes stationary things, banelings, man, because obviously you don't want things to run away from you if you've got banelings, because it's only going to be a matter of time until your banelings explode and there's going to be nothing in front of them, because, you know, they get shot at, destroyed, whatever. So you've got really good units like Zerglings and Infestors that help keep things in place. The Zerglings, of course, run way past. It's a very well-known tactic indeed, which I'm sure Danmarkdan is very savvy with, seeing as he has this composition in the first place. And that was a drop there, but I don't think it actually did any damage. I mean, Danmarkdan is obviously probably quite savvy with this tactic. All you have to do is run the Lings past whatever you want to blow up, get them to attack whatever you want them to blow up. That way they can't move, the target that is, and then just simply insert the banelings and boom. And furthermore, fungal growth further aids this kind of little way of doing things, and it does look like we're going to have a hive on the way right now for Danmarkdan, transitioning probably into the greater spire, because he does have a spire building right over here in quite a nice position actually, because I mean, if his opponent scans here, he may not actually see the spire, and the spire is one of these really important buildings that can give an opponent lots of knowledge of what is actually going on. So it's important to keep your spire hidden, especially when it is being turned into a greater spire, which of course acts as a home to one of the most brutal units in Starcraft 2. Right, so we do have Danmarkdan pretty much supply capped right now, 197, no major engagements so far in this game. Quite a lot of silver players do just macro, and then go and blow each other up, and it's always really fun to watch that. He did just lose a supply somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure where. But he is going to have to loosen up some supply if he wants to get the Broodlords. That is one thing, because I mean, he doesn't even have any Corruptors on the field yet. So I expect we will see some sort of doom push from Danmarkdan. Meanwhile, Ruslan has actually been transitioning a little bit into a more kind of mech-orientated play, as we do have a Thor on the field, with another Thor just coming right now. And we also have the one weapons just started on his vehicles as well. Oh, well, just finishing even on the vehicles as well. One weapons and one armor just finishing on the Marines also. Two weapons just finishing on the Marines also, with one armor done already. Wow, I need to listen to myself more often. And here we go, this big army from Danmarkdan is on the move. It is on the move indeed, and it does actually look like it will be coming straight down into the third base of Ruslan. Ruslan does actually have a planetary fortress for a third base, which is very, very good against Zerglings, but I mean, Banelings kill stuff so damn quickly. If all of those Banelings were to go into the planetary fortress, then we would definitely see a blown up planetary fortress very, very quickly indeed. Ruslan with pretty good reactions, moving his army slightly to the right and then moving it back round again fairly quickly. Just being a little bit reactive to what is going on in the area. Yes, oh yes, oh yes. Okay, so we have weapons +1 and 3 on the way for our Zerg player right now. As well, which of course will increase the overall effectiveness of his army even more. We do have 2 Corruptors on the field as well, and they do look like they'll be ready to transform into Broodlords at any given time. That Marine unfortunately will never ever see his family again, as he just received about 100 Zerglings in the face. And here we go, we do have a big move out, and this looks like it could be a big fight. Ooh, Ruslan's positioning isn't great right here, but quite a lot of those Banelings do go down pretty quickly, and there is some of those fungal growths keeping the stuff in position very, very well. And wow, those Banelings do a lot of damage. They're absolutely melting quite a lot of the Terran units away. But that was not a flat-out win there for Danmarkdan at all. I mean, he could have possibly just got quite a lot of infested Marines, spewed them out on top of that army and done a hell of a lot of damage, but there is no use risking it. I mean, one scan could have gone down on top of those infestors, and boom, no more infestors for Ruslan right there. Lots more Zerglings on the field right now. Like, I mean, it's amazing how Zerg players can just remax like that. It is really awesome to watch. We do have Corruptors as well, which will surely be made into Broodlords at any second now. I think that one actually, yeah, has just become a Broodlord. And this is going to become a pretty terrifying army for Ruslan to have to deal with, especially seeing as he's only on 3 base. And I mean, I think he's having kind of difficulty remaxing his army. He's only got 1 factory with a tech lab on. He really needs to have more like 2 or 3 at this point. He's got, in my opinion, too many barracks at the moment as well. But I mean, at the moment the odds look very, very, very heavily stacked against Ruslan, and that's one problem actually. Oh, there we go, there's a nice drop there from Ruslan. I don't know how many drones he managed to kill. Let's just have a quick look. Okay, so he managed to kill 5 drones in that attack, but it's not enough to get him back into this game, unfortunately. Spine Crawler is being placed here by Ruslan. He might as well just place a Spore Crawler there instead, because it will probably shoot down the medvac before it has a chance to actually drop off its cargo. But hey, he does what he wants. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine indeed. So here we go. We have quite a lot of Zerglings coming around right here. And just trying to do quite a lot of damage here to the Terran army. Owie! I mean, wow. That is a lot of dead Zergling. And that's a lot of very injured Terran as well. I mean, I thought that maybe Danmarkdan had the adrenal glands, which makes Zerglings even more deadly than they already are. But no, he's just got shitloads of Broodlords. Sorry for my bad language, but sometimes Broodlords call for it, because there's no better way to say lots of Broodlords than shitloads of Broodlords. And that is that. There we go. Okay, so he is in effect replacing his Zergling composition with Broodlings, and for everything else there is Ultralisks on the way. Excellent. It's always nice to see a player that just goes for both tier 3 units that his race can get, just to see what happens. And this is going to be a really, really deadly combination for Ruslan to deal with. I don't think that Ruslan is actually going to be able to deal with this at all. Oh dear. Well, oh dear for him at least. Of course, the Broodlings do extra damage as well when they actually first hit their target as well. The positioning isn't too bad because there's a little bit of a choke there, as it were. But I mean, those fungal growths from the low ground on the infestors are really, really, really going to hurt those Marines in no time at all. There's not enough Vikings on the field really to deal with this many Broodlords even before this army gets completely wiped out. These Vikings will just be picking off the Broodlords very, very quickly, but I'm not sure it will be fast enough. At the moment, 36 Zerglings coming on the way, and there are those infested Terrans coming out straight away to take out those Vikings as well. Because, I mean, losing Broodlords is never a fun experience for anyone, but, I mean, Danmarkdan has a lot of money right now, and quite frankly, he is, unfortunately for Ruslan, Danmarkdan is trouncing his opponent. And here we go. It doesn't look like the game is about to enter the end of the end now. I mean, these Thors have actually been lucky enough to get underneath the Broodlords and do some relatively decent damage. But as I said previously, it just doesn't look like it's been enough. A fungal growth there would help keep the Vikings in place, but unfortunately fungal growth wasn't quite quick enough. And there we go. That has been cleared up pretty quickly by Danmarkdan. Ruslan is in big trouble right now with 90 supply to 194, which Danmarkdan actually has. I mean, Danmarkdan also has 5 bases, which is pretty brutal as well. And there we go. This could look like the end right now for Ruslan. But I mean, Danmarkdan doesn't actually have what one would call core units at the moment, and that could be an issue for him coming forward in this game. Well, it would be if he wasn't about to win. What I mean by core units is he doesn't have his roaches or zerglings on the field, he's just got either broodlords or ultralisks. Core units give your enemy something else to shoot rather than the really expensive damage dealing units. But that's absolutely fine, because it is like these ultralisks will pretty much walk around the place more or less unscathed. I believe the kindness plating is actually done for them right now. A little interesting fact about ultralisks: in Heart of the Swarm, they get a I believe they get a charge mode similar to that of Zealot Charge. It would be pretty terrifying if you were a lone marine standing in front of that ultralisk while it began to charge at you. We have a small push coming up the left-hand side of the map right now from Ruslan, but it doesn't look like it's going to be completely fruitless. And these ultralisks are pretty much munching through what opposition there is left there. And here we go. This is the position you really don't want to be in if you're this marine right here, with ultralisks either side of you. The siege tank blasting away there. The siege tank actually has a bonus against armoured, but nope. Unfortunately, that's not quite enough of a bonus, unfortunately. It does look like Danmarkdan will just be finishing off his opponent fairly shortly. Ultralisks are pretty ugly things, aren't they? Cool. They are not the prettiest looking things. Oh, the SCVs are retaliating in a big way. Oh, no, it won't be enough for Ruslan to win the game.